You are listening to the Primitive Intelligence Podcast, episode 618, Alien Encyclopedia, the Yellow Book Revisited. Before I get into the episode, I do have a correction I want to make. I apologize. Back in episode 612, Welcome to Monsterland. If you are from the area where the Monsterland story comes from, and you cringed every time I said the name of the town, I apologize. The way it's spelled out, and I only knew what I could read, it's spelled out as Leominster. The actual pronunciation, I had someone reach out to me and say, that's not how it's pronounced. It's pronounced Leominster. So I know, I went back and listened to part of that, and I just kept on saying Leominster as the town and the Leominster State Forest, so people are probably cringing the whole time. So sorry, I didn't know. I know different areas have different pronunciations of things like that. And yeah, the way it's spelled, it's L-E-O-M, but it's pronounced L-E-M-O. Look, there's a town right next to me that's spelled T-H-R-O-O-P. It's not Throop, it's Troop. And if you say Throop, people yell at you. So I get it. Didn't mean to offend. Apologize for that. I was just reading it. So it's Leominster. That's where Monsterland and these stories come from. That's my correction out of the way. So this week, the book I'm touching on is actually called The Yellow Book, The History of Aliens on Earth by Bill Carson. Now, if you're not familiar, I'll go over the kind of the lead up to this, but I have touched on The Yellow Book before, and it's even now, I mean, this is back in season 5 they did this, and I'm almost at the end of season 6. That story gets a lot of traction, a lot of people commenting on it and reaching out and talking about it. So I figured, let me look into it because, well, we'll talk about that here as the episode goes. So without any further ado, episode 618 of the Primitive Intelligence Podcast starts now. Like I said, back in season 5, I did 2 episodes. 513, the Top Secret Human Alien Exchange Program, and episode 514, the Yellow Book and Other Serpo Observations. This entire story of Serpo, the Red Book, the Yellow Book, the Human Alien Exchange Program, all this, you got to take all this with a grain of salt. You got to take it for what it's worth. It's a wild story. And the way it came about could be, there could be some, it could be true. And I'm trying to put this in the nicest way. It could be true. It could be made up. I don't know. I think there could be some true parts to it. I think some of it may be exaggerated. But since I don't have any of this information in front of me directly, and everything I get is from what I read, then we're just going to go with it as take it for what it's worth. And that's how all my episodes are. I'm not trying to tell anybody what to believe or that what I'm saying is the absolute. I do these shows to entertain you, and if you're looking to expand your horizons and open your mind to things that could be, these are good stories for it. If you don't believe any of this is real, just take it for an entertaining story. If you believe in it, then take it for what it's worth. I try to look at things from like the poster in Mulder's office. I want to believe. I think there's more to the universe than we understand, but I understand also that people like to tell stories. So you got to listen to these things, and I don't think any of it is really black and white. So for those first 2 episodes, I used the book called Project Serpo, a Top Secret Human Exchange Program by Richard Dempsey. It mostly focused on the Serpo story, and I'll summarize Project Serpo for you right now, just if you're not familiar. Project Serpo is an alleged secret exchange program between the United States and an extraterrestrial civilization from the Zeta Reticuli star system, often referred to as the ebens. Now, we gave the ebens that name. It's derived from the acronym e.b.e, which stands for Extraterrestrial Biological Entity. I don't remember if the ebens either couldn't pronounce their name in a way that we would understand it, or if they didn't even have a name for themselves. I don't remember why we always referred to them as ebens, even as this went on. The story, which surfaced in the mid-2000s, claims Following the infamous Roswell UFO crash in 1947, surviving aliens communicated with the U.S. government, leading to a planned exchange of human and alien ambassadors. According to the story, in 1965, 12 American military personnel embarked on a decade-long journey to the alien planet Serpo. Why we don't call them Serpens? I don't know. Ebens. They reportedly lived among the ebens, learning about their culture, technology, and way of life. Only 8 of the 12 are said to have returned Earth in 1978. They were gone for more than the decade, and the reason for that was that time passed differently on Serpo. So the ebens believed it was 10 years, or they believed we understood that 10 years there was longer here. It was more than 10 years. Now, I've heard different variations on why only 8 returned and 4 did not. Either 1 died and 3 stayed, or 1 died on the way, 1 died on the planet, and 2 stayed, or 1 died on the way, 2 died on the planet, and 1 stayed. I've heard different variations of that. But the story, look, it's criticized a lot for its lack of concrete evidence owing to its internet origins. This is a story that got its run as a bulletin board communication or an email chain, like how they used to call that back in the day. So like a group email that would go out, and it was like a newsletter. Everybody can contribute, and this guy started writing about this Project Serpo. So it's got some, I don't want to say shady, but it's got a very gray background. Its origins are very gray because there's no way anybody can really verify. Like, I can't go and verify that these emails are real or who they came from. But the story continues to intrigue UFO enthusiasts and conspiracy theorists, contributing to the broader lore surrounding the government interactions. Like I said, this was the first one of these stories I'd heard back in the early 2000s. It was my first secret space program, and it's fascinated me, and it still does. So, again, take this for what it's worth. But as I got about halfway through that book about Project Serpo, they got into the Yellow Book, and they explained what it was. And I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking, I'm only halfway through this book. Half of it is going to be dedicated to this Yellow Book, this history of everything by this alien civilization. So I figured I'm going to stop reading right here. I'm going to cover Project Serpo in 513 and then clear my mind, get ready, read the rest of the book, and do an episode at least. I mean, come on, the history of everything is at least 1 episode, right? Maybe 2. So I stopped, I recorded, I got ready, I opened the book up, and it was like a chapter about the Yellow Book. And basically, well, we can't really read it. So here's some recaps from some other stuff. And disappointment ensued. Because I had this whole like grand plan schemed out for this. And it just didn't go. But even though I didn't get a lot of information, I mean, I got some information about the Yellow Book. Like I said, that episode, 514, still gets a lot of interaction for people. So I thought, let me dig into this. Let me see if I can find more information. It's been a long time since the Project Serpo story. I really didn't dig into it beyond that. So let's see, maybe I can find something. And that's when I come across this book entitled The Yellow Book, The History of Aliens on Earth by Gil Carson. And I thought, here we go. This is an entire book just about the Yellow Book. So it's got to have more information. It starts out by talking about the Krill Papers. So I'm like, great, we got a little bit of a baseline here. Let's get into it. And the word or the name Krill has a pretty confusing origin as it's laid out here. So I'm just going to jump into it. And if you're confused by Krill at the end, so am I. And I've read this several times. So the Krill Papers emerged unexpectedly and generated considerable speculation about their origins and accuracy. The supposed author, O.H. Krill, K-R-I-L-L, appears to be a pseudonym derived from O.H. Krill, C-R-I-L, which stands for Original Hostage Krill. This codename was used for information sourced from an alien hostage named Krill, K-R-L-L. Maybe it's Krill? Krill? I'm going to say Krill. Who was left with the U.S. government following an agreement with aliens at Holloman Air Force Base in the 1960s. Krill provided valuable information about the aliens, forming the basis of a document known as the Red Book. The Red Book is the U.S. government's documentation of its interactions with extraterrestrial crafts and beings. So as things happen, they collect this information, and then I forget what it was, like every 5 or 7 years or 10 years or something like that, they take all the information and they add it to the Red Book documents. And then it becomes official in the Red Book. Unlike the Yellow Book, which was given to us by aliens. So the Red Book is an actual human documentation of interactions. Now, to discuss this information without revealing its alien origin, the pseudonym O.H. Krill, C-R-I-L, was created. To discuss this information without revealing its alien origin, the pseudonym O.H. Krill, C-R-I-L, was created, and sanitized versions of this data were circulated among military and scientific communities. Now, the alien Krill eventually fell ill and died, but the pseudonym continued to be used for years to disseminate alien-derived technology and information. The Krill Papers, attributed to O.H. Krill, K-R-I-L-L, likely originated from someone within the government or military familiar with the Krill story. One notable source of these papers is Bill Cooper. The papers detailed the U.S. government's acquisition of advanced alien technology and interactions with alien cultures, highlighting cover-up and the complex multi-dimensional nature of the UFO phenomenon. Now, this multi-dimensional nature and interdimensional nature of the phenomenon has been brought up recently in the UAP disclosure movement, which, as far as I know, hasn't really gone anywhere since the initial hearing they had, the Senate hearing. There's been pushes for information, but nothing has really come of any of that, as far as I know. I'd have to look more into that, and I probably should. So here's some key points. They don't really give a lot of information. I'm just going to go over the talking points that the Krill Papers include. They talk about crashed alien crafts and recovered technology, interaction with both ultra-dimensional and intradimensional alien sources, live alien hostages and autopsies on alien cadavers, a cover-up by various U.S. agencies, abductions, mutilations, and killings linked to the UFO situation, active alien presence and control over certain social elements, alien bases on Earth and the Moon, collaboration between the U.S. government and aliens for technological gains, genetic and religious foundations influenced by extraterrestrial intervention, advanced technology surpassing public knowledge, a covert space program, ongoing suppression and elimination of individuals to maintain secrecy, potential overt alien presence within 5 to 10 years, and multiple civilizations existing over the past billion years. The Krill Papers emphasize the idea that humanity has been misled through conspiracies and disinformation, suggesting a hidden reality involving extraterrestrial interactions and advanced technologies. The book then goes on to talk about a Nordic alien. It says, in October of 1987, UFO researcher George Andrews managed to contact a Nordic alien through a woman in California. The Nordics shared insights on strategies and operations of the Greys. Another alien group emphasizing their invasion had already occurred. Well, okay. In October of 1987, UFO researcher George Andrews managed to contact a Nordic alien through a woman in California. The Nordic shared insights of the strategies and operations of the Greys. Another alien group emphasizing that their invasion had already occurred and was in its final stages. Here's a summary of the Nordic's observations. Instead of visible and direct invasion, the Greys employed a strategy of creating confusion and controversy, avoiding open conflict. They infiltrate top-secret government organizations like the CIA and KGB, causing internal and public discord about the existence of UFOs. By fostering disagreements within the public and between superpowers like the United States and the Soviet Union, the Greys could manipulate global tensions and maintain their covert presence. Now remember, this is back in 1987 when the Soviet Union was the Soviet Union. They leveraged human greed and the desire for secret knowledge to gain cooperation from influential groups, ensuring these groups would protect the Greys in exchange for supposed advanced knowledge. The Greys presented themselves selectively to create public skepticism and government secrecy, leading to widespread mistrust and conflict. They plan to introduce hybrid beings gradually, maintaining secrecy to avoid mass panic. The Greys offered advanced technology such as the Star Wars system to the US and superior laser systems to the Soviets to keep governments engaged and cooperative. And occasional UFO sightings and the potential for a few landings in the 1990s were part of their long-term plan to establish complete control. The inner core of the CIA was deeply influenced by the Greys, who saw this alliance as a path to scientific advancements. Other alien cultures observed the Greys' activities with great interest, indicating a broader interstellar context. And the Greys also controlled the so-called lunatic fringe groups to further their agenda and maintain secrecy. The Nordic also provided commentary on dangers of groupthink and psychological complacency. The belief of being a chosen group leads to vulnerability and potential downfall, a flaw that the Greys themselves share with humanity. And the spirit of questioning and cooperating falsehoods. The spirit of questioning and opposing falsehoods is seen as a critical resistance against the Greys and their forces. The Nordic's message goes on, it highlights the covert nature of the Greys' invasion, their manipulation of human institutions and perceptions, and the importance of individual critical thinking as defense against such control. Now, where does the Yellow Book come in, and who gave it to us? I've heard a couple different stories. One that it was given to us by the ebens. That was how it was laid out in the Project Serpo book. But here, Dan Burrish, a former scientist at Area 51, claims that an entity known as J-Rod was the source of the Yellow Book. The book reportedly contains predictions collected from the future. As J-Rod was a visitor from the future, there are two main theories. And there's two main theories about J-Rod. The extraterrestrial theory is that most sources claim J-Rod is a gray, not an eben, but a gray. There are two different species. A gray from Zeta Reticulum, part of an exchange program aimed at sharing knowledge with Earth scientists. And then there's the future human theory. Dan Burrish asserts that J-Rod is a human from the future, or a descendant of humans from the future, one of several gray species descended from humanity. These future humans are visiting to correct historical mistakes to ensure their survival, particularly to prevent a cataclysm predicted for 2012. And at this point, that's 12 years ago. So in 1954, then President Eisenhower allegedly met with Orion representatives at Edwards Air Force Base, signing a treaty and receiving the Orion Cube, also known as the Yellow Book. So here's another origin of the Yellow Book. It's from Orion, known as the Orion Cube. We call it the Yellow Book. This 8 by 8 inch cube is a quantum device displaying holographic records of past and future events. At Area 51, there's something called the Primary Looking Glass device, housed in S2 Level 2, uses electromagnetic field and argon gas to warp time-space, revealing future probabilities. It can also function as an Einstein-Rosen bridge or a wormhole at a different frequency. This level also contains Stargate jump pads and advanced research facilities. This is where it starts to get a little crazy because, not that it isn't already crazy, But, and this is where it gets a little crazy for some people, because you're talking about different origins for different alien species and where this thing came from. And then, oh, we got Stargate jump pads and all this other stuff. And people start to tune out here. Again, keep an open mind. We don't know everything that's going on. And then there's the clean sphere. J-Rod was contained and tested in a 52-foot diameter dome filled with a special atmosphere to accommodate his lung capacity. The clean sphere prevented cross-contamination and housed J-Rod's quarters. So let's look at J-Rod's description and a little bit of his experience in this clean sphere being here on Earth. J-Rod was about 3.5 feet tall, had large dark eyes, 4-digit hands and feet, and elongated arms. His name was derived from a keyboard interaction, symbolizing his origin 15 light years from Earth. But his real name is Chet Allah, CH''EL''AH. The military referred to J-Rod as an ambassador, but he considered himself a captive. Bursch interacted with him using a positive pressure suit to avoid contamination. J-Rod claimed to be from the future, seeking a cure for a genetic neuropathy defect affecting his species. Now, the Yellow Book contains records of historical and future events viewed through a quantum device obtained from the Orions. Now, are the Orions the Greys? That's where it gets confusing. I've heard that J-Rod is a Grey. I've heard that J-Rod was e.b.e. 2. Now they're saying that we got it from J-Rod, but we got it from the Orions. This is where things get very confusing with this topic. So again, the Yellow Book contains records of historical and future events viewed through the quantum device obtained from the Orions. These records were seen as future probabilities rather than definitive outcomes. The technology behind the Yellow Book might be linked to the Looking Glass device, suggesting a broader application of future predicting technology. So what I'm gathering from all this is that we got the Orion sphere, the Orion cube. We've got this primary Looking Glass device, and we've got this Yellow Book. And maybe somehow they're all used together as an interface. That's not the way it was laid out in the Project Serpo book. It made it seem that we just got this device. It looked like it was made out of plexiglass. It glowed yellow and holograms came out of it, and it used your brainwaves. It didn't reference any of these other devices. While the military considered J-Rod ambassador, his poor treatment and long tenure as a test subject highlighted ethical concerns. Bursch's claim that the Greys are future humans implies a complex interplay between past, present, and future in shaping humanity's destiny. And the primary goal of J-Rod and his fellow future humans was to prevent a disastrous event in 2012, which they either successfully averted or mispredicted. So, yeah, J-Rod, if it is J-Rod, there's like a whole new level, multi-layers to the Yellow Book that it's, and what we perceive as reality, because if J-Rod is a future human, or Greys are future humans coming back to change the past, to fix their future, are we stuck in a paradox? Like, there's a lot of things that you got to take into account here. Okay, let's move on from J-Rod, because that whole scenario, I still don't understand. Is J-Rod a Grey, a future human? Are Greys future humans? Is he an Orion? Is he an Eben? Are they all the same? I don't know. Now, it then goes into this book. Carson then goes into the phenomenon of the Men in Black, which I've touched on before. And obviously, this represents a controversial aspect of the UFO research. These mysterious figures, often dressed in black suits and appearing shortly after UFO sightings, have been reported to intimidate or threaten witnesses into silence, as the stories I've covered have gone into. Witnesses describe these men as odd-looking, with characteristics such as dull, monotone voices, sometimes high-pitched monotone voices, dark complexions or pale white skin, mechanical behavior. They're all over the place. Their missions are often absurd. They travel in large black cars, which seem both brand new and like classic at the same time, with strange insignias and untraceable license plates. The classic Men in Black appearances include a black hat, black turtleneck, sweater, and shiny, unusual fabric clothing. Some accounts describe them as pale grayish skin and or blonde hair, adding to their bizarre image. They have been observed behaving in peculiar ways, such as a large man with a green wire grafted to his skin, or Men in Black appearing immaculately clean after crossing muddy fields. Additionally, there are reports of faceless conspirators in phone companies and post offices, causing mail to go astray and making bizarre phone calls with metallic, unhuman-sounding voices. John Keel, a prominent author on the subject, has suggested that UFO phenomena might be more psychic and psychological than physical, originating from another time-space continuum. The first noted appearance of Men in Black was in 1947 during the Maury Island incident, which I covered, where debris from a UFO was confiscated by officials. Other bizarre incidents with the Men in Black: an ex-Air Force man being gassed and interrogated after learning classified NASA secrets, close-up UFO photos being seized from a teenager who was threatened, Men in Black leaving a mysterious artifact in the U.S. State Department lobby, Men in Black posing as Air Force officers to silence witnesses, Men in Black attempting to buy a Coke before business hours and singing to birds, Men in Black disintegrating a coin in a witness's hand and threatening that his heart would do the same if he talked. Now, that story I did cover. The Men in Black they're odd ducks, to be sure. And there's so many different variations of them, from the super bizarre, like they're saying, with the shiny black clothes, and sometimes they're just like normal guys in suits. Are they two different groups? Is one actual Men in Black? Is another group like humans, a human group trying to emulate them? We don't know. But these accounts contribute to the unsettling side of UFO research and the phenomenon, because not a lot of people want to be approached by these Men in Black. Now, back to talking about the Yellow Book, because that's what this book I'm reading is all about, the Yellow Book. So it gets into Bob Lazar, and he describes the Yellow Book as an extraordinary document he encountered while working with alleged alien technology. The Yellow Book appeared to be a history of the human race from an alien perspective, uniquely referring to humans as containers. That's a little concerning. This term and its meaning is open to speculation, possibly referring to humans as vessels for souls or consciousness. This is a topic I've heard before. The book had a unique high-resolution interactive format, similar to an old encyclopedia with layered anatomy sections. As readers turn the pages, and take into account this isn't an actual book, so the word book and pages are references our best way of communicating this idea. As the readers turned the pages, they could see different levels of objects, like an adobe house, from the exterior down to interior structures just by turning the page. This advanced visual presentation suggests that alien origin, due to its unprecedented clarity and detail. I mean, at least advanced origin. I would say, at least an advanced origin. Maybe jumping straight to aliens might be a bit much, but advanced origin. Lazar, again, he notes there weren't a lot of references to humans as humans, but focused on the importance and preservation of containers, emphasizing the uniqueness and rarity of life forms like those on Earth. Interestingly, the Yellow Book was 2 books in one. This was new. I didn't hear this before. Flipping it over revealed information about an alien civilization from Reticulum 4, detailing their history and perspective. Now, Lazar admits he cannot verify the book's validity, but found the photographs and technology depicted in it to be beyond conventional reproduction methods. He speculated that while the information of the Yellow Book is extensive and seemingly credible, It could also be disinformation. The sophisticated nature of the photographs and the book's unique format intrigued him, leading him to believe in the possibility of extraterrestrial visitation. Reflecting on the broader implications, he finds the concept of extraterrestrial beings visiting Earth plausible and coherent with many explained phenomena. Despite the potential for disinformation, he considers the Yellow Book a genuine artifact, possibly containing truths too extraordinary for the general public to handle. An anonymous commenter humorously suggested that the Yellow Book might be less profound than it seems, imagining it as a comic book from a wayward alien rather than a significant historical document. This lighthearted view serves as a reminder to maintain a balanced perspective on such extraordinary claims. Now, keep in mind, this book was released in 2018, so some of this information may have changed. Points of view may have changed. I haven't heard Bob Lazar speak about the Yellow Book myself, only what I've read in books. So there may be interviews out there with him now where he now says it's all BS or he believes it more. I don't know. Now, the Yellow Book, as described by Lazar, is not a traditional book, but a crystal rectangular block provided by the ebens. Now, here we go back to the ebens giving it to us in more what I read in the initial book, the Serpo Project, or Project Serpo. So this block is about 2.5 inches thick and made of a clear, heavy material similar to fiberglass or plexiglass. As I originally read plexiglass, not fiberglass, but this is fiberglass, and has a bright yellow border, hence its name. So it's not an actual book, it's like a device. It resembles a high-tech device like an iPad, more advanced and nuclear-powered. Its surface is transparent and activates upon detecting the reader's presence. When the reader looks at the surface, words and images appear. The content adjusts based on the reader's thoughts, supporting up to 80 different languages. The book contains an extensive history of Earth and the ebens, detaining their interactions with our planet, their social life, their exploration of the universe, and it includes historical events, stories, and photographs. Now, this is more like what I read. The Yellow Book's information is seemingly infinite, and no one knows it in full. It can take a lifetime to read and another to understand. If a reader puts the book down, it resets to the beginning. There is no known way to resume from where one left off. Now, interestingly, I did receive a comment on one of the episodes, and someone's like, with all their technology, couldn't the ebens figure out a bookmark? And it says that's a fair point. I mean, it's not a physical book, but I mean, even my Kindle knows where I left off. You think they should be able to do that? I don't know. Maybe ebens read faster, so they don't see a need for it. I'm not sure. The pages show highly detailed, layered information that change smoothly as you view them, much like high-resolution 3D images. So there's the theory that the Yellow Book claims that the universe expands for about 25 billion years before contracting back to its original state, a cycle known as the lifespan of the universe. Now, rather controversially, the Yellow Book also states that Jesus Christ was an alien hybrid created by the ebens to teach humanity. It suggests that many religious experiences, such as Moses' burning bush, were interactions with extraterrestrials. Now, this also falls into ancient aliens. We've heard these stories before. But the fact that this allegedly is in the Yellow Book is interesting. Lazar, he acknowledges the possibility that the Yellow Book could be part of a disinformation campaign, even though it's highly advanced. And that might make it more unlikely, but if it's not alien, and we do have breakaway civilizations, people who early in human history kind of went off on their own, had their own technology, and have built on that, and we're not aware of them. Maybe that's what this is. Or maybe we just have the technology, we're not sharing it, and we're using it for things like this just to create confusion. That is actually possible. The idea that many of Earth's religions and historical events were influenced by aliens is suggested, like I said before, akin to the way technology advanced Americans were worshipped by Pacific Islanders during World War II. Oh, so the idea that many of Earth's religions and historical events were influenced by aliens is suggested, like I said, and they liken this to the way that during World War II, when Americans arrived on these Pacific Islands with this, at that time, advanced technology, it was, people were in awe of it. And we would be the same way. I mean, think about it. If there's an alien race that comes to us and they've gone down a different technological path, I think we're now smart enough to understand it wouldn't be magic, but it would seem like it. The Yellow Book is reportedly kept at Area 51, though there are rumors of multiple copies possibly located at other secret facilities like Wright-Patterson or Los Alamos. Now, obviously, I don't think we could make a copy of it, so did the ebens give us more? I don't know. And do they all say the same thing? So the Yellow Book, it's advanced, it's interactive, it's like a holographic iPad. Is it real? I don't know. So I'm not too worried about stirring up controversy sometimes. So I want to touch on this Jesus as an alien part of the book. Now, this isn't, I'm not doing this to offend anybody. It's just part of the story. I myself am not religious. I don't necessarily believe this part of the story myself. It seems convenient, but you never know. So let's just cover it. So, like I said, the book states that Jesus was an alien hybrid sent by the ebens to teach humanity about love and tolerance, and that there's ancient texts, such as those from Egypt, which I'm not sure which ones are referencing here, suggested Jesus had the ability to shapeshift and to change his appearance to avoid capture. That may not have worked. There's depictions in artworks. All right, the Svetiskavoli Cathedral, and I know I pronounced that wrong, features an 11th century fresco with flying crafts resembling UFOs at the crucifixion of Jesus. Then there's the Annunciation with Saint Emetius. That's a 1486 painting showing a flying saucer-like object shining light onto the Virgin Mary. Art historians typically explain these depictions as symbolic, like angels or the Holy Spirit, while conspiracy theorists interpret them as evidence of alien involvement. You know the ones. It's aliens. It always is. It's the ancient aliens theory. And I guess you got to look at the artwork yourself and draw your own conclusions. That's really all you can do with that. Now, there's historical and religious accounts like the text written in Coptic that describe Pontius Pilate interacting with Jesus, suggesting he could become incorporeal. The texts also depict Jesus' appearance changing frequently, hinting at alien abilities. Less structured religion, but these, like I mentioned earlier, the cargo cults from World War II, where the Pacific Islanders worshipped the technologically advanced Americans. And they say this to suggest that back in the day, if aliens did come here and we had very little in the way of what we would consider technology now, actually we'd have none of that, we might mistake these real beings as gods. Not saying that's what happened, but if you look at it logically, that could happen. Now, claims are made that the governments in the Vatican possess evidence proving the alien origins of many religious figures. These secrets are kept to maintain control over population through organized religion. But also keep in mind, there's the theory of Project Bluebeam, which will use advanced technology and basically, I'm in a nutshell it here, but mass hallucination to make people believe that there's either an alien invasion or the second coming of Christ. That is out there. So you can go both ways in that. And then there's also pop culture movies. Close Encounters of the Third Kind by Steven Spielberg. That is said to be based on the events that led up to the Project Serpo, the Eben exchange, where it shows the landing at Holloman Air Force Base. I don't remember if they call it Holloman Air Force Base in the movie, but there's the exchange. The aliens come down, the humans go up. That's based on Project Serpo and the Ebens giving us the Yellow Book, if it is indeed the Ebens. So here I go. I'm not that far into the book. And I'm thinking, all right, there's still a lot of this book to go. Here we go. Here comes the history of humanity and the ebens and the universe and maybe some future stuff. By this time, we've had to have gotten information out of this book. And the next thing it goes into, after it talks about Jesus being an alien, is it starts talking about the ebens, which I covered in the Project Serpo episode. And it talks about the Red Book. And then it talks about alien energy sources and more aliens coming. And then it goes into the Project Serpo planning and negotiations, which I already covered. MJ-12, animal mutilations and UFO chronology, the Greys again, more Men in Black stuff. Nothing else about the Yellow Book. Nothing else about the Yellow Book. I will continue to try to find information from the Yellow Book. Here's the thing. If we received this back in the 60s, 40s, somewhere between the 40s and 60s, I don't remember the exact day. I think it was at the Holloman Air Force landing, right, in 68. So almost 60 years ago, we've had this Yellow Book. And according to this book, multiple copies of the Yellow Book for nearly 60 years. And there's no information. None of this has come out. No one has, there's not a declassified document. There's nothing leaked that talks about the information in the Yellow Book. Just vague, general, sweeping things. And then conveniently, it doesn't really talk about humans. It stops when humans, because we should know all that. Okay, maybe we should know all that. But what about before us? How close are we to what we know about the universe? Like, why is this information not, like, this can't be information. I don't care if they don't ever say it comes from the Yellow Book, but if we have that information over 60 years, they could have plausibly leaked the information about the beginning of the universe and about all this other stuff that we're still not sure about. We could know it, and they would never have to say where it came from. They could just slowly let that information out. And anything that was too informative, they could have held back. But we don't get that. So I like the idea of the Yellow Book, but I'm not entirely sure I'm sold on it. It sounds cool. And maybe there is a device that gives information, but maybe it's not. Maybe like that guy said, maybe it's just like a comic book. Who knows? Maybe it's not as profound as it's made out to be. I have more faith in the fact that the Red Book exists, because that would be, there's been projects like Project Blue Book and things like that where encounters have been written down, and we're seeing now that the U.S. government, with disclosure, has, they may not openly admit it sometimes, but they've had encounters with something, or we don't know what. But so yeah, the Red Book, I've got more faith in. The Yellow Book, though, I don't know. So let me know. Do you know, as a listener, do you know of a good source that has information about the contents of the Yellow Book? Not a book that mentions the Yellow Book and then goes on to talk about a million other things, like I keep finding. A book or a document or something that just talks about the contents of the Yellow Book. I don't care if it's information about the first 300 pages, because that's all anybody can get through. What is it? Tell me where that is, because I want to find out. I want to know. And then if I get that, I will pass it along to you guys. But it's not looking very likely. So I will keep looking, because since this is part of Project Serpo, even though Project Serpo seems highly unlikely, at least the endings of it, because the story got crazy towards the end. It really was like somebody had this story, and maybe some of it was true, but then they want to keep embellishing it to keep people hooked on their story. That's what it seemed like to me, and that's never good. So I'll keep looking into it, and if I find something, I'll do another episode on it. But if I find another book that starts out talking about it and then derails into something else, I'd rather not have an episode that week. I'd rather just come on and just babble into the microphone than cover another book like that. This is a good book. It's well written. I'm not knocking the book or the author, but it's not, don't call it the Yellow Book. Call it what's the rest of it? Let me get back up to the top here. Call it the history of aliens on Earth. Don't call it the Yellow Book, because this is not about the Yellow Book. So, I don't know. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I mean, I do love this stuff, so it's very interesting to me, but I really wish there was just more, just get into the Yellow Book. That's me. So hopefully, let me know if you guys know of a book that just really focuses on the Yellow Book and the information within it. Let me know. I will read it and I will cover it. Otherwise, I'll just keep looking. You can contact me at podcast@primitiveintelligence.com. I hope you guys are enjoying the series. I've got a few more episodes in season 6. And then what I'm going to do is I'll do like I did at the end of season 5. I'll do a series of bonus episodes. They'll be shorter because as much as none of us really like to admit it, the algorithms want to see consistent content. But as creators, we need to take a little time off. This is every week. Things happen, and every week coming up with stuff, sometimes you just need a little bit of a break. So there will be no gap in between season 6 and season 5. Again, it'll just be like some bonus episodes, which will be shorter. I have an idea for what I'm going to do in those, and then I'll jump into season 7. But I say season 5, season 6. Yeah, between season 6 and season 7, there'll be no gap. There'll be 620, and then I don't know yet how many. I guess I got to look at the calendar, see where that falls, and I'll take probably a month off of researching and recording, and just put out those bonus episodes every week. So there won't be a gap in actual episodes, but I'll be taking a break. And I'll come back in season 7. I got some really cool ideas. I got a couple cool leads that I really want to grab onto. Maybe some more interviews. That's what I'm hoping for. And yeah, so season 7, looking to just keep expanding and keep going. Hope you guys are enjoying it so far. You got questions, you got comments, mispronounced something, whatever it may be, let me know. Podcast@primitiveintelligence.com, or if you're watching it on YouTube or even Rumble, you can comment on the video. And Spotify does have that voice message. You can leave a voice message thing. Also, I'll put a link in there. No pressure, but if you want to help support the show, I do have Primitive Intelligence t-shirts. I got a couple different ones. I'll link to them. Go check them out. See what you think. If you want to buy one, feel free. If not, no big deal. No pressure. Oh, that's going to do it for me for this episode. Enjoy the rest of your week. See ya.